Hey guys, RJ from TeleTalks here, and on this week's episode, we are going to be asking the important question: is the HX Stomp worth it in 2022? Spoiler alert, it is. I'll explain why. Let's go ahead and get started. So I purchased the HX Stomp back in 2018 when it first launched. I had recently been laid off from my job at the time, and so I ended up having to sell a bunch of pedals and pretty much all of my gear except for the bare essentials. And I was in desperate need of building out my pedal board again, and also something for silent recording because I've always been in an apartment or a studio. So I've always had, neighbors and thin walls, etc., etc. And I was looking at the HX effects. But, of course, there's no amps in there. Although there was IR, so my original plan was to get like a preamp pedal, use the IRs, and then that would be my rig. Because the Helix Lite was just still way too big for the space that I had. And I was looking to honestly just really pare down to the bare essentials and what I need. And then a month later, the HX Stomp gets announced. I immediately pre-order one because I was like $600. It has amps, effects, all that fun stuff. And I was like, well, that is the best way that's going to allow me to play pedal catch up. And, honestly, going into it, I knew the limitations of only having, at the time, 6 blocks. And even if you maxed out your DSP, it could be less than that. So, going into it, I was like, oh, I'm going to pair it with, a favorite delay of mine, maybe a favorite reverb, and my drive section and call it a day, and that would be my rig. And it ended up being so much more than that for me and honestly this channel. Here at TeleTalks, I've always been about keeping it simple. So once I really just got into the nitty gritty of the capabilities of the HX Stomp, I quickly realized it's actually all I need. It's the perfect tool for a super simple, but yet still pretty powerful rig. I never feel like I'm missing out on anything just using it. And that kind of brings me to the next thing. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It really is. 2018, $600, well spent. I've gotten my money's worth with all of the added updates, including this month with 3.3 3.15, I believe, they added even more effects, bass effects, like Ampeg stuff, which I'm super stoked to try out. And it really just has allowed me to do so much crazy stuff. Like one of my favorite updates wasn't this most recent one, but the one before it where they introduced the Hot Springs reverb, which I've always been a fan of, like surfy reverbs, even though I don't really play surf. I actually briefly had the Collider by Source Audio because I wanted that drippy kind of reverb, and they kind of had a version of that. But with this update, it is pretty close to a Fender Top Box. It's got the drip. It's got just the warm tone that you associate with spring reverb tanks, and it's honestly one of my favorite updates that they've ever put out. As far as amps are concerned, the Orange Rocker Mandarin, or it's like basically it's an Orange Rocker verb, and it's called like the Mandarin Rocker or something like that. It is super, super good. I've always been a fan of Orange, and this just nails that for me, so much so that our friend of the show and constant contributor to TeleTalks, Brian Gower, actually made a preset, and honestly has used it quite a bit, I believe, for just at home playing, and it's been super useful for him. Like I said, I haven't tried out 3.15, but I'm definitely looking forward to it because they also announced another reverb that sounds a lot like the Dispatch Master by Earthquaker Devices. So it's like a delay reverb thing. I've been told it sounds great. I can't wait to actually try it out. Maybe I'll do a video once I upgrade my HX Stomp back there. And yeah, it might end up becoming one of my favorites. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the Ampeg stuff with like the liquid chorus and the liquid, or I don't think it's called the liquid comp, but I think it's a optical compressor by Ampeg. Could be wrong on that, but I'm stoked because I also use this for my bass guitar, my acoustic guitar. I love that I can load acoustic IRs into the HX Stomp to give my plugged-in acoustic sound a much more realistic in-room sound, if you will, which has been amazing. Lastly, I just want to say this piece of gear, the HX Stomp, has made me realize what I need versus what I want. We are always going down this path of gas, watching all these demos on YouTube, and always thinking to ourselves, well, this is what's going to take me to the next level. This is what's going to allow me to switch genres and get that sound that's in my head. And honestly, I have found with the HX Stomp, I can do that just by twiddling a few knobs and really just essentially curving my appetite for new gear by loading up an empty preset and going for it, trying to achieve what's in my head or what I saw in a demo from another pedal, and in ways emulate it. And it has really kicked off this journey that I've been on ever since towards musician minimalism. I mean, guys, I have an HX Stomp. I have 3 stringed instruments. I have an electric, an acoustic, and a bass. And I honestly think it's made me really, the HX Stomp is what allowed me to do that. It made me realize that, like, sure, having new gear is inspirational, and I'm never saying that I'm not going to purchase another guitar, switch it up, or buy more guitars or more pedals, but right now it's doing exactly what I need, and it's been amazing. So, in conclusion, the HX Stomp is totally worth it in 2022 and the perfect companion if you're like me who needs a little bit more than what the Iridium and Walrus Audio's AC1 has to offer, where it's just like an amp in a box kind of thing with like some IRs. If you're needing effects like, especially like I get it, not everybody's into the distortions and the overdrive. So if you want to pair that, but like for the effects that you don't always use, like, for a long time that was modulation, so chorus, flanger, etc. It's nice to have that in the box available to me if I need it. But a lot of times, it's just simple dirt, delay, reverb, stereo amp, preferably, which with the added efficiencies of the 8 blocks, etc., etc., I'm easily able to do all through the HX Stomp, and that's what makes it worth it to me. But I want to know what you guys think. Comment down below. Do you think, or are you using just the HX Stomp by itself to basically get your entire tone? Or is it just like an effects box that, you use for certain effects that, like I said, you need for the occasional gig, but you don't want it to take up a space actually on your board? Is it a backup rig for you in case your amp goes down, etc., etc.? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of TeleTalks. Be sure to subscribe if you like this. Share it with all your friends. Click the little bell. That way you get updated every time we upload. And thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.